Beautiful fluff, my beautiful wife.
Bit try-hard, innit?
No, it's romantic.
Tulips, though. It's either red roses or nothing for me.
Usually it's nothing. Sorry.
I don't suppose you can slip away at lunchtime, can you?
Well, it depends what I'm slipping away for.
Something sweet?
Oh, get a room! What's this? Slackers Anonymous? Get stitching, get packing. Get out!
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 245 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that after Daisy's cancer scare and Daisy's stalker scare, I can hardly wait for Daniel making Daisy's next smear test all about him too. I'm Gavin.
And I am nearly done with watching all the Oscar movies. Nearly done. I have 3 documentaries to watch, 2 foreign films to watch. That's it.
Let me see what my total is, because my total last year, at this point last year going to the Oscars, I think I'd seen like 2.
Yeah.
This year I have seen, out of the 50-something, there are 54 movies that were nominated for an Oscar this year. I have seen 33 of them,
Woohoo!
which is pretty good going for me.
You've seen all the best pictures.
Yes.
You've
Animated shorts, live action shorts.
Yep.
I haven't seen all the I don't think I've seen any of the documentaries or the documentary shorts.
Well, Fire of Love is on Hulu. All That Breathes and Navalny, which I'm going to be watching after we're done here, are on HBO Max. The other 2 don't seem to be streaming anywhere unless you want to pay for them.
yeah.
I mean, beyond the payment that you make for your subscription service to the streaming.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have time between now and Sunday, I don't think.
Well, you have all day Sunday.
I don't think I'm going to have time between now and Sunday.
And I've watched all the animated movies. And you've only seen Pinocchio.
Yeah, most of the pity. I refuse to pay $20 to watch that Cat in the Hat thing.
You mean Puss in Boots?
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes, and I believe it's streaming now, so you don't have to pay $20.
Well, aren't I glad that I didn't? Yes.
Yes, because you did pay to watch Triangle of Sadness, and now it's free on the Hulu.
Do you know, I only paid, I think, $5 to watch that, and it was worth it. It wasn't worth $20, but it was worth 5. Anyway, how are you?
Yeah, all right. It's just so super busy. Tomorrow
super busy watching Oscar movies?
Well, there's that, but also at work. I'm super glad tomorrow is like the last Saturday I have to work for a while, which is nice because we don't have any auctions going up anytime soon. Still working on Man Cave. Got some really exciting advertising to work on next week. Very excited for that. Some like light up Pepsi signs and stuff.
Excellent.
And Seagrams. And like a stoplight.
What do you think people have in man caves? Because Seagram adverts wouldn't be anywhere near the top of my list.
Well, it's like a light up clock. But, you know, there are all different kinds of men.
I think man caves have no windows or clocks, so you become unaware of the time.
Well.
Or is that Vegas? I'm thinking of Vegas,
Those
sorry.
are casinos, yes. Because Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods are the same. No windows, no clocks.
That's my joke.
How are you?
I'm alright. It's been a busy week again. An awful lot of thinking. I've been forced to think for quite a lot this week, and I don't appreciate it.
How dare they make you think?
Oh, but think and think and think. And then think some more. I've done nothing but think all week, which is why I was glad for Coronation Street for a little break of that.
Yes.
No thinking required.
Well, maybe a little bit this week.
I felt an awful lot
very
of it.
hard to think of, you know, butterflies and sunshine and roses and other things that make you happy so that you don't have to think about what you're watching.
I felt an awful lot of it washed over me, so I think I'm going to be as surprised as you are to hear some of my notes today. I feel like I didn't even watch it.
It was very hard going.
Was it?
It was very hard going. I said to you before we started that there's a part of me that just has half a mind to just not watch anymore until the Daisy and the Amy storylines are over, because it's just, I watched Women Talking
So did I.
this week, and you watched it first, and you were a little concerned that it might be triggering for me. Mm-hmm. Coronation Street this week was far more triggering than Women Talking, because Women Talking, I think, handled the situation in a far more considered way. And was written and directed by a woman.
I feel like Women Talking is putting that on its poster, not as triggering as Coronation Street.
Sarah Polly will be so proud.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that. Well, let me go into the right board first. Give me some of that triggering Corrie news.
The Corrie cast celebrated Alison King's 50th birthday this week with
She's
a night out. As
my age.
evidenced. Would you stop ruining my jokes?
It's just, you've been ruining mine for 12 years.
As evidenced on Samia Longchambon's Instagram. Hard to believe Alison is the same age as our Gav.
Wow. I think she's looking better for it.
Than you?
Mm.
Well, she's not balding.
No, she's not balding.
She's got that on you.
Just as well, although I think my breasts are firmer.
I wouldn't know. I haven't touched hers.
Right. How can I ruin the next item of Corrie News?
We were saddened by the swift exit of Damien last week.
We were.
But elated that actor Tawana Omer is headed to Broadway.
Is what?
He is. He's starring in the play The Jungle, which will be moving from New York to DC in April. And he's not the only Corrie alum in the cast of the play.
What?
Would you believe that this play, set in a refugee camp, also stars Julie Hesmondah?
Hesmondah.
Yes, that's what I said.
No one.
I said it with an American accent. So isn't that exciting, Gav?
Wow.
What a great way for that young man to land on his feet.
It's playing a refugee again, I guess, but
Well, yes, it's set in a refugee camp.
but still,
Broadway.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
like, God, and he didn't even leave with a fanfare of going off to do other things
Right.
and bigger things, and yet, wow,
That's pretty huge.
that's pretty huge on the Broadway.
Yes. The Great White Way.
Now, do you think there are parts of the Broadway that are maybe not quite as razzle dazzle as other parts? Like this kind of off Broadway bits.
Right, but this play is not off Broadway. It's
It's
on Broadway.
All on Broadway. Wow, that's amazing.
That is amazing. I mean, DC will be off Broadway.
Yeah, sure.
So, but still.
I'm wondering. So when is
America.
this starting? Do you know?
Well, it has already started. He started in February, actually.
Oh, okay.
So, because he wrapped. We saw him leave last week, but he had already left before
Months ago,
last
yeah.
week. Yes. I'm a little surprised that more fanfare about this wasn't made. I guess because they didn't want people to know that he was leaving. Because that would be spoilery.
I don't think his character was really one that they were all that concerned about.
Who knows?
Not in a bad way, but
No.
just I think we all knew he was going to be a temporary character. Most to pity, I
Right.
think would have, as we were saying last week, would have been quite happy if he'd
Stayed
hung
forever.
around and got a little bit of roots in the street
Right.
and stuff, just to show that it's possible, But
Because, let's be honest, it would be nice to have two unproblematic young men on the street. Right now, all we have is Addie.
and Sam,
Sam is a child. He's not a young man.
Liam,
Who?
Zach,
What?
and Harry.
Now you're just saying words.
Harry, I'm not a baby. Soft play.
Soft play. And finally,
Oh, yeah, fine.
not to be undone, Roxandra Pornicu,
Oofed. Well done.
formerly Alina Pop, has joined the cast of London theatre show Stray Dogs, proving you don't have to fly to America to see a former Corrie cast member on stage, unless you already live here like us.
So what does that do for our prediction of her coming back then?
Well, we thought she was going to come back at Christmas time,
yeah.
and she didn't. So maybe she's never coming back.
Or maybe she's coming back when the kid's a little older.
Right.
Because she's definitely had Tyrone's baby, right?
Or maybe she will come back with a different face, like Jackson this week.
Yeah, I think they'd have less chance of getting away with that.
Well, not if they waited 6 years.
True.
And that's Corrie News.
That is Corrie News. And, you know, we do get the occasional mailbag item, and I'm really bad at remembering to mention them, but we got quite a few this week, so I'm remembering. Which leads us to our section, Everyone's a Critic.
That's the YouTube music.
Yeah, and I changed it to become the Everyone's a Critic music because it's music from film 19 whatever, which was a critique show.
Sure.
Mark got in touch to say, serious point, thank you for eloquently saying out loud the things I was unable to articulate with silent anger / frustration during that harrowing final scene from last week's Corrie. And also thanks for elaborating with personal experience. Once again, bearing your soul and providing necessary education on some very difficult topics. Non-serious point, Thundersnow is the best Icelandic post-rock punk band to emerge from Helen's imagination. So...
They had Thundersnow in Canada at the same time, which just reminded me of how close we are to Canada.
Yeah.
Because it was probably the same storm.
And yet so far away. It was. Yeah, it was the same storm. Thanks very much for those comments, Mark. Then MX Dream Edits wrote to say, it was great to hear your thoughts on the storyline with Amy. I agree, the show needs more happy storylines. And you know, I think we call it like we see it.
Yes.
With these storylines, and sometimes people agree with us and sometimes people don't, but thank you for taking the time, both Mark and MX Dream Edits, to write in to agree with us.
Do you think he's just M to his friends?
Sure. Then our good friend John Giovanacci wrote, disappointed that Darian's farewell didn't get moment of the week last week. While Gemma stuffing her face was funny the first 27 times, it's gone beyond a joke now, and it's just disgusting. I think we were both really just so disappointed that Darian left.
Right, that's what
last week.
That's what I wrote in reply to him.
And then finally, Ian Les Paul wrote, Gav, tune the pox and guitar, you're making my eyes water. Well, Ian, I can assure you the guitar is tuned, and I can play guitar a little bit. I just choose not to. Which leads us on to Will Podcast for Coffee. We're on our own coffees again this week. I am drinking, once again, Canada Dry Zero. What are you drinking out of a wine glass that isn't wine?
Iced tea. My drink of choice.
The Talk of the Street is, and always will be, free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes. But if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to our little show right here,
Our little show.
like an hour and 40 minutes of your time, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street, and we'll be very grateful, won't we, Helen?
And also appreciative.
What did I say?
Grateful.
What did I usually say?
Appreciative.
Thank you. And now, this is worth money, apparently. This.
Welcome.
Well, welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about Use Your Imagination.
Use your imagination to imagine Steve McDonald in his boxer shorts.
That's right, this was Gary using Lenny the PI to invent stories to throw people off Rick's decomposing scent. Well, what should I tell him, said Lenny. Use your imagination, said Gary. I was Gavin, and I couldn't really understand what you were. I think you said you were the queen of the tickle monsters?
Am I the queen of the tickle monsters? Yes, I am the queen of the tickle monsters.
We wondered why dogs weren't tickly. Or ticklish. Would you say tickly or ticklish?
Ticklish.
Ticklish.
Yeah. Cats are, though.
Cats are ticklish?
I think so. They respond as if they're ticklish when I tickle them.
Nurse. Sam is thrilled when he defeats Brian at chess, but Nick has had enough of sitting bored in the cafe and so bans his son from continuing under Roy's tutelage. It very much looks like Adam will be charged for the damage caused at Lydia's flat, while Sarah decides to cut all of her and Harry's ties to him. Kelly is running herself ragged as she tries to care for her mum, attend to her
Kelly.
schoolwork and cut homeless Stu's hair.
Oh, Kelly's mum.
Oh, homeless Stu's hair. Lush.
Where
lush
has homeless Stu been?
His lush hair and his wonderful teeth.
Yes, and his guitar playing.
More of that later. Emma continues to hide her relationship with John from Craig and Faye. Daniel and Daisy are beginning to show signs of committing to each other when he mentions going on holiday together until a face from the past threatens to scupper their plans. With Glory's first birthday approaching, Michael is keen to find Grace, to the absolute horror of Ed and Aggie. Kev returned from Bridlington to find Abby back in the muck, and from this point, her day is only going to get worse, because this is the day
That she gives birth.
Gary loses his Insanity DVD. Debbie likens herself to knits, and Mr. Jacob's Graynisson will need a valet. Our moment of the week was Gary's home aerobics, and our boring moment of the week was Daisy handing out spike prevention coasters in too much of a nod that the show was taking it seriously.
Oh, God, I miss Gary's aerobics.
He was giving it
That was so good.
big insanity.
It was so good. Bring back Gary's aerobics.
We were very taken by his moves.
Yes.
And that was Coronation Street and the Talk of the Street. This time last year. Shall we dive in, my dear?
I guess we kind of have to. That's why we're here.
We get it over and done with. If that's any good to you. Our first storyline is we're not calling Aaron a you-know-what yet.
Rapist.
Right. On Monday, it's the morning after the night before, and Amy is waking up to a room that looks like a bomb's hit it and a glass of water with "Drink Me" written on post-it stuck on its side.
Right.
Well, that's a kind of red flag right there,
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
kind of creepy, Aaron. Not as creepy as raping Amy the night before, but you know.
No, comparatively far less creepy and damaging, but
Yes.
still.
Yeah. Has he never read or seen Alice in Wonderland?
Meanwhile, Aaron is at work having to deal with Abby listening to the Beastie Boys and talking about egg yolks and tomatoes.
And egg yolks dripping down Alfie's chin and everything. She's trying to make him sick.
Now-
She's punishing him.
I don't know.
And it's hilarious.
Is this universal then? Because my make me feel sick after I've been drinking image was a yolk from an egg and ketchup and baked beans. That all kind of mixed together would give me the dry bulk.
Interesting.
Did you have anything that would make you feel sick when you were drunk?
Nothing that comes to mind,
No.
just being drunk.
Right. More beer. Asha and Nina show up, feeling better than he is despite a late night. That's because Nina's been drinking water.
Yes.
And they arrange to meet at Speed Daal for a recovery nan at lunchtime. They think it's a good opportunity for Aaron and Summer to make up. Back at the flat, Amy gets up and listens to a voicemail from Ash and Nina about the lunch thing. The living room is still a mess, and some of the empty bottles seem to be jogging Amy's memory a bit. So at Speed Daal later, everyone is now calling Amy Ames. Oh, that just absolutely got on my tits.
Yes.
On the Friday, no one's calling her Ames. Now, Jacob called her Ames, and that was
Yes.
cute.
Yes, because Jacob was her boyfriend.
Yeah.
He's allowed to give her a nickname.
She's in a world of her own, and when she nips off for a shite, she bumps into Aaron, and more of the last night comes back to her. He tells her that he'd like to keep the fact that they slept together a secret from the others, and shocked, she storms off for that shite.
Right, yes, because it has been a secret to her that happened.
Right.
What a way to find out. What a way to find out.
In a restaurant at lunchtime.
Right. By
When
the
you're
guy
up-
saying that we should keep this secret. And if he had never said anything, she wouldn't know. She probably suspected because her underpants were on the other side of the room.
Right.
But yikes.
Back at the table, Summer has arrived too, and she and Aaron make up and decide to go back out together for the umpteenth time. Amy's already feeling sick before overhearing this pish, and then Asha wants a photo of this momentous occasion, although if she just waited a couple of days, I'm sure it would have rolled round again. Later, Amy and Aaron get a chance to talk privately. Amy explains how drunk she was and how she can't remember anything, and Aaron misreads this and agrees that he was out of it too. He can't even remember if he took any protection, so Amy goes home to deal with that.
Yes.
And at home, as she's dealing with it, Summer fucking shows up wanting to chat about being a cow yesterday. Amy is quick to temper and clearly isn't Aaron's biggest fan, so now Summer is sure something's up. I'm hungover, you dozy cow, says Amy, and she blames her mood on not being able to get hold of Jacob. Everyone is round at the young crew flat later to watch a movie, so Amy announces that
Except for Nina. That was weird.
Amy announces that she's off to live at number 1 for a couple of days, blaming the fact that she has an essay due and it's just better if she concentrates there. So the others continue to worry about Amy while Aaron looks guilty as fuck. Amy is packed and leaves, so he chases after her to make sure that she'll keep her mouth shut. He hopes she isn't leaving because of what they did, and she says she's not. She's leaving because of what he did.
Bingo.
And he is still really confused by this.
Yes.
At home, Tracy welcomes Amy back and is suspicious when Amy hugs her. Nice one, Tracy. That's your daughter. Back at the flat, Asha's feeling like a gooseberry, so she leaves Aaron and Summer to it, and this allows Aaron and Summer to snuggle up. Summer suggests that they don't act too loved up in front of Amy, who Summer is sure is upset about something, and this is a little bit of advice that she quickly forgets for the rest of the week.
Yes.
Tracy has made Amy some roasted cheese or something and announces that Daisy wants Amy to be a bridesmaid. Amy is appalled at the thought of people looking at her but plays along. They chat about Tracy's wedding day with Rob Donovan, which was ruined when Carla dobbed him into the cops for killing Tina McIntyre. I hate when that happens on your wedding day.
Seriously.
Don't you? Amy asks if Tracy wishes that Carla kept her mouth shut about Rob, but Tracy thinks Rob got what he deserved, all things considered.
Yes. Well, it's nice of you to think that, Tracy.
You know, when you weigh it all up, you know, if you just kept...
Because at first she was like, oh, it was so nice until Carla had to ruin it. And it's like, wait a second.
Right. Outside later, Amy bumps into Aaron, who still hasn't got a clue about what happened. He's worried that Summer is getting suspicious. Amy says that she couldn't care less about Summer, speaking on behalf of the audience.
Yes.
She cares that she was so drunk she couldn't possibly have given him consent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, says Aaron as a little bulb goes off. And he tries to insist that Amy was kissing him and undressing him and that she wanted it. She asks what she said to make him think that, but he can't answer. All he knows is that she was just as responsible for last night as him.
Yeah, no.
And he leaves her to it. So, if he was that drunk, I can imagine this would be very earth-shattering news to him.
Yeah.
But the way that he's been dealing with it right from the off, and how he will continue to deal with it through the week, is really...
just to shut her down.
Really awful.
Yeah. He is at least a little horrified to consider the fact that he raped her.
He can't say it. He can't say the word.
He can't. And yet, you know, she was clearly passed out when he took her underpants off. She was not kissing him at that point.
She had her back to him.
She had her back to him. She said, I'm sleepy, and turned away from him.
No, she thought she was going to be sick.
Yeah. It's like, I feel sick.
And he said, well, that's just what a boy wants to hear, but that didn't stop him.
No. Yeah. And she turned away. And she was passed out by the time he took her underpants off. So, I mean, she was not kissing him or taking his clothes off or taking her clothes off.
While they were having sex.
Well, he was raping her.
Yes.
Because they were not having sex because she was passed out.
Correct.
Yes.
On Wednesday, Steve is worried about Amy being asleep on the couch, concerned about her studies, which chases her out to Nina's Rolls, where of course she runs into Summer and Aaron.
Fucking hell.
Cheery Summer is more unbearable now that she's back with Aaron, and she arranges to meet up with Amy later, regardless of what Amy wants.
Right?
She suggests to Aaron, quietly, that he brings along a mate later on.
Ew.
And this brings us on to this week's hard debate. Which is your favourite summer? Is it cheery, loved up summer? Is it swatty summer? Is it kidnapped summer? Or is it selling fake baby summer?
I chose kidnapped summer.
The voting was thus. In last place, I was surprised by this. Selling fake baby summer, a mere 8.5%. I think that was probably my favourite. Swatty summer was 22.3%, and there was a late surge to swap over the first and second place. In second place with 34%, it was kidnapped summer, which means with 35.1% of the vote, cheery, loved up summer is most people's, well, kind of,
Gross.
favourite summer. There's no accounting for taste.
No.
What you doing, British public mostly.
Seriously.
At the pub later, Amy is pissed off anyway, but she's further pissed off to see that Aaron is there, and then is apoplectic with rage to learn that they're setting her up on a blind date. She storms off, leaving Summer to muse that this is so weird. Who would have thought that somebody doesn't want to be set up on a blind date?
Especially, less than a month after a pretty awful breakup, especially when Amy has confided to her that she's still upset about that breakup. Mm-hmm. It's like Summer has no emotional intelligence or emotional maturity at all whatsoever. It's just stunning to me how dumb they have made her.
And she actually said to Amy at some point this week, I can't remember exactly which day it was, Summer says to Amy, Amy Barlow, you are turning into a swat. Excuse me? You want to back the fuck away from that, Summer, because that was you for fucking 18 months. Accusing somebody else of being a swat?
See, I don't know what that means, so I was fine with it.
Just a bookworm. You're constantly studying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Fuck off, Summer.
Thank you. Later, Summer and Amy meet up in the precinct, and Amy apologises and blames her mood on Jacob doing a run-up. She's scared of being hurt again. She's lucky that she's got this that she can use as an excuse for,
Absolutely.
for her emotions. Summer calls Amy Ames again and tells her that she and Aaron have her back and give her a hug. What happened to the whole let's not rub Amy's face in the fact that we're back together again plan?
Right, yeah, seriously.
Back at the Young Crew flat, Summer fills Aaron in
But not like that.
and tells him the supposed reason for Amy's mood, which makes Aaron relieved. I keep on wanting to call him Alan this week.
Alan!
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 Summer promises...
Steve!
Stop being a meerkat.
I thought it was a prairie dog.
Probably. Alan! Summer
Steve!
promises to be a better friend. Meanwhile, at number one, Amy is learning about how Daisy's life has been fucked up by a bloke in another storyline, and the police will do nothing about it, and Amy is utterly furious on Daisy's behalf here. And it seemed that little snippet from that storyline was maybe... It felt like it was about to do something to Amy, that she was maybe going to go to the police about this.
Right, yes. And then nothing happens, which is frustrating as hell.
On Friday, Summer is cheery for the third episode running as she runs into Amy at the bus shelter. Summer announces that she's planning to go to Manchester Uni now to be closer to Aaron. Amy tells her to look further afield, which makes Summer pull her confused face again.
Well, yeah, she's like, because initially she said that she was looking at St. Andrews, but decided not to because she wanted to be close to her boyfriend. And Amy rightly says, your boyfriend should not be your consideration for where you go to college.
Even if he isn't a rapist.
Right.
Summer takes Aaron a coffee at the garage so she can talk to him about Amy. She wonders why Amy was trying to talk her out of going to Manchester. Oh, who fucking cares, says
And also,
Aaron.
that's not what she said.
No. Yes, you're probably right, says Summer. In the Rovers, Aaron sees Amy and asks for a chat about her persuading Summer to go to another university. Go fuck yourself, says Amy. Aaron picks up that Amy's still bothered about being raped the other night, and he changes his story to say that he can't remember what happened either. This doesn't fool Amy. Aaron says that he's back this summer, and he asks Amy not to ruin that for him. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Ugh. Just... kind of feel like the less said about the storyline, the better. It's just, to have this going on top of the whole Daisy thing, when we've just gotten over murderous assaults on Alia and Maria.
And the shoving of Mike.
It's good to have these hard-hitting storylines every once in a while to bring attention to social issues of the day and stuff. But this is not Law and Order SVU. This is fucking Coronation Street. Cut us some slack.
It's when you stack them all up on top of each other. This is why it gets a reputation for being dark.
Yeah.
And
not in a good way.
And the powers that be think that dark storylines is what attracts viewers. And they've been doing it for long enough that, who knows, maybe there's something in that.
I don't know, because I was reading something recently where some awards show is coming up and Coronation Street has no nominations. And I can't remember what it was or anything, but...
Is it Crufts?
Who knows? Maybe.
It's a dog show.
Oh, well, that would make sense. But, I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one watching this saying it's getting to be too much and I just can't, I can't watch this anymore.
I don't think you are the only one, but I think conversely there must be a fairly silent minority or majority, who knows, you're perfectly happy with this. If the viewing figures were dropping considerably, they'd sack the producer, they'd get somebody else in and they'd maybe lighten up a little bit, but they don't show any signs of doing that. That I think that drama in the 21st century has to have some kind of societal message and has to be hard hitting and has to be dark. And
this is, like I said, this is not a hardline drama. This is a soap opera. Soap operas are supposed to be soapy.
Well,
this is not soapy. Soap operas are supposed to be kind of ridiculous drama.
I always thought that the mood of the show was supposed to be kind of the opposite of the societal mood.
Right.
So in a time of prosperity and opportunity and wealth, that's when the misery porn memoir became really popular.
Right.
People liked to read about that stuff while they were doing fairly well.
Right.
But where you're doing fairly badly, like in the 70s and 80s for a lot of people with strikes and stuff like that, you wanted something that was a little bit uplifting, a bit lighter.
Aspirational.
Yeah, and that I think is what Corrie was at that point. It was kind of a more fun show to watch. Like, even in 2001, today I took snippets of Fred Elliott making noises again from half a year's worth of Coronation Street and put it all together. And even in 2001, there you had a fun character who just would wander into stories and be fun and not really do anything consequential or nothing all that important for most of the time, but just be there just to provide a bit of light relief. I think that's what we're missing, is the balance of the light with the dark. And when we
Kirk
do have
is not
dark,
enough.
No, sorry, and having too much dark stacked up that are based on kind of similar,
that are all about assaults on women.
Until recently, Amy and Daisy lived in the same house, and these things are happening to two women who live in the same house,
in the same family. And then we have Carla being drugged by LSD, yet another woman from the same family. You know, it's the actors are doing their best with what they have been given.
I think they're doing a great job.
And I applaud that. I applaud Ellie being awesome as she always has been. But it's just, it cannot be easy to just have this stuff piled on top of you over and over and over again. And like I said, more in the Daisy storyline, which we will get to, but also this one, it doesn't feel like it's being handled particularly well or with consideration for the audience and considering what the audience themselves may have gone through in their own personal lives. You know, it's just kind of infuriating.
I think where they're actually probably getting it right. And, you know, we praise Elle Mulvaney frequently. I agree. I think she's doing a great job here so far. I think James Craven as Aaron is doing a good job as well of he's playing the part well of being a guy who is young and unwilling to accept the facts of what has happened. I think the path that character is going down is entirely believable.
I feel like it's too sympathetic to him.
I don't think he's been sympathetic at all. I think he's coming across quite pathetic, actually.
Right.
And I think maybe what we're lacking is Amy's inner thoughts on this. We know that she's clearly upset and traumatized by what's happened.
Yes.
But I'd like to know if she's
on
even
top of the stuff that she's already been traumatized by.
I'd like to know if she's even thinking about going to the police. It doesn't seem that she is.
No.
And I'd like her to have somebody to talk to. And I kind of felt that it was important for her to have someone to talk to this week.
Right.
About it.
And the way Daisy was able to talk to Maria last week. And I thought that's what was going to happen between Amy and Daisy. Because you'd think that if there's anybody Amy could talk to about this, it would be Daisy, who would be a member of the family, but also not someone like her mother who would just go out and straight out murk the guy.
Right.
You know? And there's that. Just not having Amy to have anyone to talk to, just once again, just shoving Summer down our throats when this should not be really a Summer storyline.
No.
You know, like you said, once again, they're back together. Why would she take him back after the way he treated her last week?
Well, pick your time. Because they've broken up at least 5 times.
Right, yeah. So
maybe this guy isn't the love of your life, and maybe this guy shouldn't be someone that you're planning on going to university because of your locale to him. Right,
yeah. Maybe let's consider other options here. Like I said, it continues to infuriate me how much they have altered Summer to be this kind of wreck of a character when we've seen her grow up, and this is not the way grown-up Summer should be.
The cheeriness that she has this week in comparison to her mood in previous weeks suggests to me that she's on the verge of a breakdown. That she's in a kind of mania sort of phase.
Yeah.
I would just like for...
But God, do we really want to see a woman break down on the show again?
Seriously. I would just want Amy to have a little... release from this, and I hate to think that it's getting drawn out because of story and not because of character.
Right. Yeah.
Let's move on.
Okay. Yes. Good.
To Bethsmacking.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
On Monday.
A story I can get behind.
At the bus stop, Sam tells Hope that he told Tyrone the truth about the Beth slap, but he didn't believe him. Fucking typical, says Hope. And to commiserate, she decides to blow off school for the day and she heads back home, leaving Sam on the bus on his own, going to school.
Which was hilarious.
In the factory, Tyrone, who doesn't work at the factory, is in the factory to talk to Fizz. He's looking to see if she can get some time off at lunchtime for some afternoon delight.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone in the factory is sick, which alerts Carla, who chases Tyrone out with a broom. Get out! She shouts, just like that. Beth is jelly of Fizz and starts making Kirk jelly by talking about some of her exes, like Steve McDonald
Walk.
and Marco.
Yeah, she says Steve doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's Marco.
She's a woman of the world, she says. Well, so am I, says Kirk. Oh, Kirk. So at lunchtime, Tyrone and Fizz are getting down to it on the couch when Hope wanders in, thankfully with her noise-cancelling earphones on, but she's caught, and Fizz is furious that Hope is dogging it. And in her anger, Hope flinches, worried that Fizz was about to belt her like Auntie Beth did, when no one believed her.
Yeah. Hope has stolen the chocolate mousse that was supposed to be putting Fizz and Tyrone in the mood.
Mm-hmm. Were they going to put it on Tyrone's body for Fizz to lick it off? Or... Okay, anyway. I love them both. And I love the mousse. Back at the factory, Fizz and Tyrone are in to challenge Beth for slapping Hope. Beth comes clean, calling it a moment of madness and just a clip. How would you like it if I slapped Craig, says Tyrone. Kirk is shocked. Carla gets her broom out again and chases Tyrone out of the factory for the second time today. Fizz wants Beth.
While making pss, pss, pss noises.
She's got a little water bottle, a little squishy water bottle. Fizz wants Beth to stay away from her family. Later, Beth is doing the last of Fizz's job to make up for assaulting her daughter. Kirk is still fuming about this and refuses to listen to Beth's excuses, saying that he'll be sleeping in Peanut's room tonight because not only did Beth hit Hope, she lied to his bare face about it.
Yes, she did.
That makes it a bare-faced lie.
Absolutely.
At home, Fizz and Tyrone apologise to Hope for not believing her, which pleases Hope until she learns that Fizz and Tyrone won't be calling the police about this. They've always told her that actions have consequences, and yet here we are, you bunch of fucking hypocrites, says Hope.
Yes, but Hope, when have you ever faced a consequence from your parents? Answer us that.
Right. On Wednesday, meanwhile at the factory, so I've split the story into two here. So we'll come back to the Hope and Sam bit, and let's focus on the Beth and Kirk bit. So on Wednesday at the factory, Kirk is still in the mood with his violent, lying missus. When Beth comes in, she has a letter of apology that she gives to Fizz for Hope. It's reasonably heartfelt. I think she misspelt Scylla. And Beth is ashamed of her behaviour. Fizz agrees to pass the letter on. In Nina's roles, after an argument between Beth and Shona, Maria's caught up on what's been going on. Beth doesn't mind anyone else hating her, but can't stand that her Kirky isn't talking to her. Maria suggests reminding him of how good a person she is. So Beth goes...
Yikes.
Right, good luck with that. So Beth goes back to the factory with her box of their keepsakes, and she talks them through them. There's a key to their old flat, there's some of his adamant costume from their wedding,
Aww.
and a poem that he wrote her that sounds like the lyrics to Like a Virgin. She's lost without him, but he says he needs more time. Then Kirk runs into Maria and Fizz later, and they both make a case for drawing a line under the incident and forgiving Beth, and Maria's like, look, if Fizz can do it, Kirk, surely to God you can. Later in the pub, Kirk and Beth seem to make up, but as he goes through other items in their keepsake box, he finds a letter from her exotic ex, Marco.
Polo.
Kirk is hurt to discover that the keepsake box isn't their relationship, it's all of hers. He leaves her...
It's a very small box.
He leaves her to it, leaving everyone with the image of Steve and his Y-fronts. On her own, Beth talks to Glenda about this Marco character, and she shows her his Facebook photo on her phone. Glenda snatches his phone, does her a favour, and sends him a friend request.
Yes.
Beth's shocked, but maybe just a little
Grateful.
curious about this.
Yeah. So much good use made out of Glenda this week. Can
Yeah.
we just say,
Yeah.
I loved all of Glenda being in the show this week.
Glenda was our Fred Elliott this week a little bit.
Yes.
On Friday, at the factory, Kirk is still annoyed with Beth and only slept in the bed with Beth because Peanut kept licking his face.
Aw.
He's also pissed with her keeping her old love letters. Beth is getting pretty bored with this shite and wistfully checks on Marco's profile on her phone. In the factory, during a discussion about crisps, Fizz and Beth get into another argument about Hope, who Beth compares with Genghis Khan, who Sally has to point out was a 13th century warlord.
Right,
So that
because
was
Faye
hilarious.
thinks it was a rapper?
A boxer.
A boxer.
And
Okay.
that's Amir Khan.
Right. Yes.
So Sarah splits them up and sends Beth to work with Kirk.
The funny thing is most of those people probably have Genghis Khan DNA running through their blood. Since it's like, what, 90% of people on Earth are related to Genghis Khan?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because he spread his seed an awful lot while he was conquering the world.
What was it? Was it with the Mongols and just invading things? They loved it.
Yes. And they were good at it, too.
Very good at it.
And they were also, conscientious and allowed people to still have, once they conquered them, they allowed women in their armies and to lead and stuff. The Mongols, while being, very murderous, were also quite progressive for their time.
This turning into a Mongol podcast? The Talk of the Mongols?
The Talk of the Mongols.
What would my theme tune be for that, I wonder? Beth and Kirk continue to argue in the packing department,
But not like that.
and it gets to the point where Kirk offers to move out, and Beth doesn't give a fuck one way or the other anymore. At lunch, Beth is looking at Marco's profile on her phone again when Kirk comes and apologises for his reaction to her punching Hope in the face. Apology accepted, says Beth, as she hides a notification that Marco has accepted her friend request.
Uh-oh.
And in his roles, Beth decides to apologise to Kirk too. He nips off for a shite, which allows Beth to go through Marco's pics on Facebook, and she gets caught doing so by Glenda.
Whoa.
Beth insists that she's only interested in getting an old 12-inch of hers back, but not like that. It seems that Glenda and Beth are becoming little frenemies.
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I quite like it because everyone likes Glenda.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice that somebody doesn't, and that somebody's Beth.
Right. But she also does kind of like her as well.
Back at the factory, Kirk is spoiling Beth with teen bickies. Viz, though, still carrying a bit of a grudge. And later, Kirk is grateful that Beth accepted his apology for his reaction to her punching Hope in the mouth. He asks if she really has ditched a letter from Marco, and she promises that she has, and he's glad because he can't bear the thought of her thinking about another man. In the pub later, Glenda checks to see if Beth has been in touch with Marco, and it turns out that she has, and he wants to meet up with her to give her 12 inches, and not a word of this, to Kirk.
But not like that.
And that's as far as we get with that.
Yes. Kirk gets a storyline.
Kirk has a storyline. We need a fanfare for that.
No. Maybe, do you still have...
Hold on. I might have. No.
No.
I think that's about it.
Where's blue, 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 blue?
What was that again? Oh, hindsight corner. God, we haven't done that in a while.
No, because
I don't think I have it on this
we get
anymore.
everything right now.
No, if we just stop caring, right? I still have
too.
this, though.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.
See, it is Mrs. Fletcher.
Mrs. Patterson.
There we go.
That'll do. Kirk gets his own storyline. And I'm kind of pleased about that.
Yeah.
Although it felt like it was coming to an end very quickly. But the fact that Beth and this Marco are, I guess, going to meet up,
Yeah.
that does add a little bit more of a
Yay.
frisson into proceedings.
Yes.
That maybe something serious could be happening here.
A serious Kirk storyline? It's also nice that the show remembered that Maria and Kirk are related.
Yeah. Because sometimes you see them talking and you think, why is Maria talking to him? Oh,
that's right.
That's right.
They're
yeah,
related.
There we go. Yeah. Shared DNA. Yeah. I kind of maybe have a little concern for Beth and Kirk's marriage.
Yeah.
Because this is what happens when characters don't get drama. They become Kirk and Beth.
Yeah.
And then eventually they split up.
But see, this is what I like. This is what I want. I want troubled marriages because of some hot guy that Beth dated 20 years ago.
Called Marco.
Called Marco. Come on. Give me more Marco. And
That's
less,
what Beth said.
yeah, and less Darko.
Oh, Donnie Darko.
Man, if only this was Donnie Darko.
I can't remember what that was. Was that the time loop thing with the rabbit?
With the rabbit,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
I quite like that.
And the Tears for the Fears.
The Tears for the Fears.
The
yes.
Tears for the Fears. That's what this show needs, a giant spooky rabbit.
Kirk and Beth have their issues. They tend to be done for comedy. They tend to fall out for an episode and then
Right.
they make up again. She calls him Kirky a couple of times, and that's really all it takes. But this feels like it might actually have some thorns that are going to stick in longer term.
And some weight.
And I don't think I disapprove of it.
No, me neither.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
All right, let's move on to our next storyline, which is Tim's mum about the house. Just a few scenes from Monday about this. Number 4, Tim's mum is having a problem with her tablet. Tim takes a look at it and sees that she's looking at flats in Red Bank. Tim's mum reveals that she's getting a place with Stephen, and Tim, who didn't have any idea that this was going to happen, thinks that this is a horrendous notion.
Yes. And also, this whole issue with the tablet occurs right when Tim and Sally are going upstairs
Yes.
to get it on, because Sally is also jealous of Fizz and Tyrone.
Yes. Sally is more accommodating to the idea, but Tim wants to protect her and needs a plan. Sally doesn't think that this is Ocean's 11. I checked. It isn't.
No.
She tells him to have a grown-up conversation with Stephen. So Tim tries to do this, but is quickly bamboozled by the silver-tongued Canadian, who suggests that Tim doesn't think Tim's mum deserves to be happy. Inadvertently, Tim sort of gives his blessing, providing Stephen treats Tim's mum with respect.
Yes.
Once he's dealt with these idiots, Stephen downplays his relationship with Tim's mum to Jenny, and then after an angry Carla tells him to be at the factory at 7:30 sharp, he gets on to the phone to Rufus Houndstooth to arrange refilling his prescription.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's all that happened on that.
Ugh. I am glad that that's all that happened on that. So at least they weren't triple dogpiling down on us with women in danger.
I do have concerns again, though, that Stephen has run out of the LSD and is getting some more, because he had this plan
Right.
of drugging Carla that seemed to be working.
Right.
And then he was so stupid that he drank it himself.
Right.
And you may remember him tripping out of his tits.
Yes.
He was tripping balls that week, remember?
Yes.
You think
And
that
learned
would be
nothing.
You think that would be his lesson?
No. This is
So
not
he's
a
gonna
man
go-
who learns lessons.
So he's going to go back to that plan A.
This is a man who should have left after his second murder.
His plan B is to do plan A slightly differently, or no, just
Basically
exactly
the same.
the same.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered with that.
No. Can we please just get rid of this guy?
Tim's mum,
I'm worried he's going to kill her.
I'm worried about that too, and even the fact that she's kind of going along with a lot of this stupidity.
Yes.
What she had to endure with Tim's dad, you think the show would kind of cut her a bit of a break.
No,
But
this
what
show
is-
does not cut women breaks.
But what it's doing here instead is kind of saying, Tim's mummy, what you like.
Yeah. Maybe she deserves to be treated horribly by men, because look at her. She's so stupid.
No wonder she got
Right.
taken for a ride by Tim's dad, because look at her.
Yeah.
It's all happening to her again.
Yeah. Yeah.
She just didn't learn anything.
Fuck this show.
Because remember
Seriously.
when she came back, she was kind of timid.
Yes.
She was on her own, I think.
Yeah.
She'd kind of become a bit isolated, which I can entirely see being a consequence of being bullied and demeaned by Tim's dad over the years, and yet here she is now, kind of falling for it again.
Right. And she
with
and
no reservations.
yeah, and she and Yasmin kind of built one another up and gained their strength back, kind of by having this shared experience. And it was lovely.
And a sisters before misters kind of thing.
Right, yes. And at least Yasmin moved on to Homeless Stu and his fabulous hair.
Yeah.
But, you know, it took an awful lot of convincing for Yasmin to fall for Homeless Stu and that fabulous hair.
Yes, and that's what's missing here.
Right. Yeah.
Is that
I hate this. Hate it.
That she's almost been the one that's kind of chasing him.
Yes. But again, let's remember, like all the women on the street seem to think that Stephen is a good catch. And I don't understand why. Yes, they don't know about the murders and stuff, but have they looked at him? Have they heard him speak?
Oh, that's terribly harsh.
But fair.
No, it's just harsh.
Ohioans, man. Ohioans. Let's not forget this man is, in real life, from Ohio, our sworn enemy.
we had a war and everything.
We did. Look it up.
It was pointless, and nobody died.
It wasn't pointless. We got the UP out of it. And they got a teeny tiny sliver.
They got Toledo, I think, which is where he's from. He could have been
a Michigander.
I think. I maybe got that wrong.
A name given to us by Abraham Lincoln.
No,
I'm just full of facts today.
If I can speak well, maybe we'll be bringing Hide St. Connor back next week. I might need to dig out that tune again. No, if I can speak with some authority on anything, it's that an accent goes a long way.
It does.
Let's move on to our next story, which is, and they called it Maniacal Puppy Love. On Wednesday, as Hope heads off for school, she's still in a bad mood that Ty and Fizz won't grass Beth up to the cops from the earlier storyline. Sam and Hope catch up, and Hope is already thinking of ways that she can manipulate the situation to get new trainers. She's always wanting new trainers. Sam has his own worries that he has a design and tech assignment where he has to make a diorama. He's worried about it, so Hope agrees to help. I didn't think they had dioramas in the UK, but look at that.
Look at that.
He's also missing his dad a bit. At home...
Where is his dad? Where did
he go?
Where did Nick go? I don't remember Nick leaving.
He's probably living with Audrey as well. At home, Hope is unimpressed with Beth's apology letter, but ropes Tyrone into doing Sam's homework for him. And then when Sam arrives, he finds that Tyrone has made a pretty good diorama. Sam is worried about cheating. Hope tells him to lighten up and goes off to get some biscuits. Nobody will find out if you don't tell nobody.
No.
On Friday, Fizz is appalled with the state of Hope's bedroom and demands that she cleans it up, as she's been unable to locate Ruby. Poor Ruby.
Poor Ruby.
Tyrone's spine is missing again, and he says that Hope needs to go to school so she can tidy her room later, and he gives Hope a bit of a wink. Hope and Sam are back from school, and they're about to part when Sam says he doesn't want to go home and he'd rather hang out with her, so they go and do that, and it's adorable. So Sam and Hope have a milkshake and Nina's rolls, and they tell each other that they like each other's company, and as they hold hands, and with some help from Summer, because Summer's the person to ask, they decide that they are boyfriend and girlfriend. Oh, shush you, it's all.
No, it's not.
Later at home, Fizz is impressed because Hope's room is the tidiest it's ever been, and that's because Tyrone was the sap who cleaned it for her. Hope says that she's nearly forgiven Tyrone for not believing her now.
Yeah, after
she hasn't learned a single thing.
No, she really hasn't. She really hasn't. And this is why I roll my eyes. Because they're like, oh, we're not going to make her a horrible demon child anymore. We're going to give her lighthearted storylines now. And according to this show, the only lighthearted storyline a woman can have on this show is dating a man.
Well,
she's got a boyfriend now. So now she's not crazy anymore. She's got a boyfriend. Yay! Fuck off.
Shush you, it's Sam.
I don't care. I don't want Sam to be dating either. Let them be kids.
Well, they're not dating. What's a boyfriend and girlfriend at that age is hardly anything more than what they're
drinking
currently doing.
Drinking milkshakes and holding hands.
Yeah.
But still, let them just be friends. Please, let them be friends. And let's have Hope actually change So she's not going to be a demon child, but she's still going to constantly manipulate her parents, and they're going to allow that to happen?
Well, she can learn all the lessons in the world, but Fizz and Ty need to learn some lessons of their own.
And they've not.
No.
And they never will. So there will never be a consequence for Hope for any of her actions.
That's what we're saying.
Ever.
Correct.
We're just going to pretend none of it ever happened and give her a boyfriend.
Do you know, maybe this is exactly what she needs, just to calm down.
Wow. Wow. You're lucky I know you're kidding.
I think we better move swiftly on then. I think it's adorable.
You would.
Just sitting drinking milkshakes. It's lovely. And they're in their wee school uniforms. It's so cute. I don't know why I said it like that. Our penultimate storyline tonight is
Uh-oh.
Miley Shyness. That's no great.
It's not.
That's no great. On Wednesday at the factory, Sally apologises to Faye and asks if everything's all right. Faye is thrown by Jackson getting in touch and it's making her stressed out of her tits, and she just wants to move on. I don't know how many times she has to say that she just wants to move on.
Right, yeah.
Later.
And nobody listens to her and nobody believes her.
Later at Nina Shoals, she meets up with Tim, who is feeling a bit left out of her life and wants to remain close. So they arrange to go out clubbing together because Craig is working. But Craig changes his shift so he can go clubbing after all. That was a great story.
Right.
Little story beat. Go, Craig's working. Oh no, Craig's not working. So Tim's off the hook. When Faye gets a text at the dinner table from Jackson, Tim is unusually interested because he thinks it's a meme. You don't get memes, says Sally with a smile on her face, talking to him like he's a confused infant.
Because he is.
And while that's going on, Faye quickly deletes it. Then when Craig comes over, he announces that he has booked a spa weekend for Faye's birthday surprise, which he's promptly ruined by telling her about it ahead of time.
Right.
She tells Sally about the text, but she's sticking to her guns. She wants no part of this Miley thing.
No.
On Friday, Tim comes down the stairs of Discovery after doing his morning shite, worried about Faye, but reluctant to talk to her in case it's about women's bits, because he knows that something's wrong with her.
Right.
The door goes, and on the other side, it's a guy that Tim thinks works in the bins. But no, it's Jackson, Miley's dad, and he's here to see Faye.
I thought his name was Billy Ray.
Jackson explains that he's sent Faye messages. Tim reckons that Faye will definitely want to see him and Miley again, and all this means that Sally has to come clean about Faye's feelings and how she's known about it for a while, and Tim is not pleased at this duplicitousness.
No.
At work, poor Tim's mind is wandering. At work, poor Tim's mind is wandering. Sally comes in with an apology sandwich, but Tim resists. His wife lied, and his daughter won't let him see his granddaughter. Someone should have told him. So Sally says, well, you're going to need to speak to Faye about this then.
Right, yes.
You asshole.
Right.
So Tim cooked curly fries for a special birthday dinner for Faye. Well, I say cooked, he put them in the oven.
Right.
And he talks
That's
to Faye.
cooking.
I think that's heating. And he talks to Faye about Jackson and Miley. He doesn't understand why she doesn't want to see her daughter, so Faye has to explain the same story that she's told to Sally to Tim. She doesn't want anything to do with Miley or Jackson. She wants to put all that behind her. It's in the past. So Tim is alone with his thought as he walks by the community garden and sees Ken talking about the birds and the bees, but not like that, with Bertie.
Who has his binoculars backwards looking up in the sky at what he thinks is an eagle. Mm-hmm. And we get to hear Bertie speak.
Yeah, he's quite developed as far as language is concerned.
Well, he is a Barlow.
This is true.
This was so cute. This is cute.
This is cute. Because, you know, a son and his granddad, there's no relationship like that. That's a little bit special right there.
Yes.
Because Tim needs to see a grandparent and a grandchild bonding to make him think.
Right, yes.
At home, Tim tells Sally that he's okay with Faye's decision, but he reveals that he's already made arrangements with Jackson to see Miley on the down low, and he makes Sally promise to keep it from Faye because Sally owes him. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
She owes you nothing.
So, is it next week that Faye's going to be presented with Miley then?
Right,
Because
when
that's
she's going to have this
definitely-
child forced
definitely
upon her.
going to happen, yes.
Because nobody can respect a woman's decision on this show.
You know, they're lining them up that way. It has to be said. It really is getting lined up that way.
And then you wonder why I just don't want to watch for a while. It's going to be me and Mersey Tart just sitting on the sidelines.
Listen to me talk about it.
Yes.
And then you won't be listening. And then Mersey Tart won't be listening either. It'll just be me
Well, you could just
talking into the void.
you could just tell me what happens and then I could react to it. And then it would be hilarious because you could make stuff up and I would just believe you.
And I'm making half of this shit up.
Unfortunately, you're not.
I stopped watching Coronation Street years ago.
I wish you were making this up.
No, I saw a number of comments, I think from the same person though, that complaining, that's another white male being made out to be a baddie. Like, well, that's an interesting take on it. Because we're just ignoring that all this is like horrible shit getting done to women.
Right, yeah.
That's an interesting take.
In fairness, I don't think Tim is necessarily being a baddie here. I think...
Oh, no, I think this was about
Yeah.
the whole Aaron and Max kind of stuff.
And, and honestly, I think Tim legitimately has a choice. If he wants to have a relationship with this child, he can have a relationship with this child and without Faye having a relationship with this child. It's perfectly acceptable to do. There are lots of grandparents out there with relationships with their grandchildren, raising their grandchildren, and those children have no relationship with their parents. Happens all the time.
Yep.
So there is a way this storyline could go where both Tim and Faye are happy. Unfortunately, that's not where we're going to get.
Well, we might end up there. But we're going to go.
But first, we're going to traumatize Faye.
We're going to go through a pile of shit before we get there, yeah. Yes. Now, remember, we've already traumatised her by putting her with Craig.
Right.
And we've traumatised her further by not being able to have children.
Right, yes, by going through early menopause.
And didn't she have a miscarriage?
She did.
She did.
Or she thought she was pregnant and she wasn't.
Oh,
she had that phantom pregnancy.
That's right.
What else has happened to Faye? I mean, the Craig thing is the worst, obviously. But... and then she had to date Seb. Remember that? And it was back when Seb was insufferable before he got together with Nina and became a delight.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, had to end with him being murdered because nobody's allowed to be happy on this show.
Yeah. It always just struck me how much the two of them looked like each other. They looked like they were like siblings.
Yeah.
So it never really sat that comfortably with me in the first place.
Yeah. And they were both kind of mopey together.
Yeah, yes they were.
That's why he needed Nina to make him understand what happiness was.
Yeah, and now Faye is mopey all on her own.
Yes.
Poor wee thing.
Yes.
Do you know, for a bad week, we've been flying through it.
Because it's a bad week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's how that works. Yeah, I think I agree that I think the way that he's doing it is wrong. But, do you know, everyone's natural instinct on the show is to, wherever possible, to lie or keep something from someone who should really know the thing that you're keeping from them.
And, I mean, in fairness, when he says, well, I want a relationship with her, Faye said, that's not up to you, which is incorrect. But, I understand where Faye is coming from, but it's an incorrect stance. She should not get to decide whether or not Tim has a relationship with his grandchild.
The two of them living in such close proximity to each other, though, kind of makes it really difficult for Faye not to have, or at least not see Miley, even by accident.
She can see her without having... I see people all the time I don't have relationships with. all the time. I'm walking by people that I never see again, and it's fine.
I don't know if you're getting what I mean.
I walk by the same people all the time because they also live in Eaton Rapids, and it's fine.
I definitely don't think you know what I'm meaning then.
Well,
because when she just goes over for dinner, Miley could be there.
Well, it's very easy to say, hey, I've got Miley tonight, so I'm sure you probably don't want to come over for dinner. I know people on the show cannot communicate with one another.
Like this. This definitely doesn't happen.
Well, maybe it should.
Sally, I thought, was quite good, though, because she
threads the needle quite well.
Her position was, take this up with Faye.
Right, yes.
This shit got nothing to do with me.
Absolutely.
And that's more power to her for that.
Yes.
All right. Let me just get my guitar for this one. Let me just check to make sure that it's in tune. Yep, sounds like it. So, our next storyline tonight is Just in Stalkings right again. Again.
Are you trying to prove to the listeners that you actually can play guitar?
I fucked up.
It's fine.
It's Just in Stalkings right again. On Monday, Daisy is not looking forward to meeting her mum at lunchtime, particularly because she has a new bloke she wants to show off. Her mum, not Daisy. Although, by the end of the week, who knows? In the bistro, Daisy's mum announces that her new man is named Jay and is very handsome. And when she goes off to get some nibbles, to the surprise of no one,
correct,
it turns out to be Justin.
Yes.
As Daisy's mum's new man.
Which, come on.
I don't know how much sense this makes. I don't think it's a huge amount. That he's managed to track her down.
Right.
Two, he's convinced her to go out with him.
Right.
In a really short period of time.
Right. And also, at first, I thought she knew what Justin looked like. I could have sworn she was in the room at one point when he came in to do the creepy stalking. But this seems to indicate that she doesn't know what he looked like.
Right.
It's okay because this isn't the only thing that doesn't make sense in the storyline this week.
If only. Daisy carefully describes to her mum that this creeper is her stalker. He protests his innocence, but she says, "What, you're dating my mum?" She storms out, but her mum is more concerned with the fact that Justin may not have actually been interested in her after all.
Right.
She's great. I wish I could remember her name. Later in the pub, Daisy's mum comes in on her own. She's kicked Justin to the curb because he doesn't stop talking about Daisy, and she now agrees that he's obsessed with her. "Now you're caught up," says Daisy. And the mum goes off, promising to come back for the hen do.
Right, yes. She also says, "Do you want me to go and knock him out and stuff?" And she's like, "No."
Yeah. On Wednesday at the Rovers, Daisy is worried that her mum has spilled details of the wedding to Justin, which somehow gives Daniel an opportunity to quote Pride and Prejudice. Daisy wants to change the date, and much against Daniel's advice, she goes off to speak to the suppliers. Later, we learn that the venue has had a cancellation, but the only time they have now is at the end of the month. Daniel suddenly worries about getting time off work again, but she manages to convince him as she prepares for her dress fitting. The dress supplier shows up at the pub later without dress. She wants a word with Daisy about the loan that was the arrangement, apparently. Justin has been in touch with him, accusing Daisy of assaulting him. Daisy and Jenny explain about the stalking, but this does not cut any cheese. The word of a psychotic madman stalker they don't know from Adam is enough for them to cancel the loan, although they will allow her to buy the dress for $2,000, bail not included.
Right. So, which is actually pretty cheap for a wedding dress.
Is it?
Yes. That's actually a good deal for one of those stupid things. I mean, I've never paid that much for a wedding dress. But still. Yeah. And here we come to the second "this doesn't make sense" part of the evening. Because how did he know where she was getting the dress from, because it kind of feels like this is not something that she discussed with her mom. And it feels like not the sort of thing her mom would be discussing with her boyfriend.
No.
So him getting her new phone number off of her mom makes
Believable.
sense.
He can probably get that without her mom knowing.
Even knowing.
Right.
And obviously didn't, because she didn't know that he was the creepy stalker. But to find out all of these details about suppliers and stuff.
Yeah, because this is just the start of these dominoes kind of falling over here.
Yeah. And none of them make sense.
But him knowing about this is unusual.
Mm-hmm.
Their stance on this is even more bizarre.
Yeah.
Because she says to Daisy, you know how social media works. Well, presumably you know how social media works as well.
Right.
This creeper is followed by nobody.
Right.
Daisy, for the love of God, let's remember she's an influencer.
Right. She's followed by a lot of people. That's why this loan was agreed to in the first place.
Yeah. Who's supposed to care about this?
Right. Yeah. Like, we don't want any trouble.
Who's supposed to care about this?
Right.
And he could say anything
Right.
to them then, and they're going to believe it.
Well, he's a man and she's a woman. So who you gonna believe? This continues this week as well. Ugh.
It's strange, though, coming from another woman
Right.
to very quickly assess Justin's accusations here
Right.
as being
Truthful.
so important
Right.
that it's worthy to cancel the deal because it
Right.
would look bad on them somehow.
And also, wouldn't they have signed a contract for all of this before now? So wouldn't it be very difficult for them to just back out? What is going on here?
When Daniel gets back from work, he learns that Justin has been in touch with all the suppliers and that Justin must have pretty convincing patter because they've all backed out.
Well, he is
and if
Scottish.
he does have, well, yeah, but I don't think he's got much in the way of patter.
No, because he's a creep.
If she can't have the wedding that she wants, she doesn't want to get married at all, says Daisy. Daniel reassures Daisy that it doesn't matter so long as they're together and they can get married in the community garden with Kirk dressed up as Batman for all he cares.
Yeah, and
For a
she's
second
like,
time.
you are not listening to me.
Yeah. This doesn't impress Daisy, who thinks Daniel is quite happy that thanks to Justin, he's getting the low-key wedding that he wanted all along. And he did have a dig at her again about being on social media, didn't he?
Right, yes, he did. Because of course he did.
She goes home to get some reassurance from Ken. Whew. But it comes to this. But he makes an excuse to fuck off and meet Audrey, and this leaves Daisy alone at number one. There's a knock at the door, and on the doorbell cam, she can see it's Justin, who shouts that he knows that she's in there. She quickly locks the front door, but as she's doing that, he sneaks in the back. He blames Daniel for the stalking protection order and expects her to be grateful that he's fucked up the wedding. Daniel is not right for her. He has a point. She lays it out again that she hates Justin and just wants him to leave her alone. Justin, though, wants to talk about their marriage, and he seems to go a bit dark when he thinks that Daisy isn't paying him any attention.
Right.
Because he wants to go to Venice
Right.
on honeymoon with her. Yikes.
Oh, yeah.
Not a moment too soon, though. Daniel finally gets home and kind of sort of chases Justin out the house.
Yes, while miraculously making the chain across the door invisible.
Making the chain across the door invisible.
Right, because Daisy had locked and latched the door.
She-
So Daniel makes the latch invisible in order to burst through the door somehow.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
I mean, it's no Starbucks cup in the Game of the Thrones, but still.
No, I didn't notice that either. They call the cops, but it's Tinker they send round, and we already know that he doesn't give a solitary fuck about any of
He
this.
really doesn't.
Justin didn't break in, he didn't threaten her, so the only thing they can do is have a word with him about trespassing, but apparently that's not a criminal offence.
How is trespassing
What?
not a criminal offence?
What?
How is walking into somebody's house
Uninvited.
uninvited and unwanted, not a criminal offense, especially if this is someone that has already been put on record as being a stalker. It's so terrifying, and yet also so believable that this would be the case. You know?
England does have some weird trespass laws, I think, that I think you can only get done if you cause damage. It's weird.
Yeah. It is weird.
But you're right, there are additional circumstances here that should be taken into account.
Right. And isn't this what the police are for? Protecting personal property?
That's why they're on this earth.
That's why they're on this earth. Not to protect people, to protect property.
No, he has on record numerous times that Daisy has raised complaints here.
Right. They've got her journal.
They can surely see that this is now escalating to the point where he's in the house.
Right.
Uninvited.
And he took her phone. Why is he not getting done in for that? Taking her phone.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, he snatched it off her, didn't he?
Right.
Did he leave with it? Maybe not, because she still has it.
Yeah. He obviously didn't leave with it, but he did take it. And, I mean, he was kind of threatening to her. He was saying, you better pay attention to me when I'm talking to you, woman.
His mere presence there is threatening her.
Right. Yeah. But people, for some reason, don't see it that way. Oh, he's just a person uninvited in your house. I guess we can now say beyond a shadow of a doubt he's not a vampire, so at least we have that going for him.
Right. Daisy isn't impressed by this, so PC Tinker leaves in the huff. And oh my God, does he know half leaving the huff?
Seriously.
Huffing and puffing, well, I'll see myself out. And he slams the door on the way out.
Yeah, go fuck yourself, Craig.
Jesus.
I mean, he is dating Faye.
Daniel thinks that this was going to help with the SPO, and he's probably right. Excitement over, Daniel goes to the pub with Peter and Steve. The two of them can't believe that Daniel didn't sort the problem himself. If this was happening to Tracy, Steve reckons that she'd have killed Justin by now. Such strong woman, Helen. Such strong
So
woman.
strong.
Peter reckons that nutballs like Justin need to meet his old pals, Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary, but not the Octagon. In other words, violence. Daniel shits himself a bit at the thought of it. But later, loaded with beer and chips, Peter and Daniel bump into Justin on their way home. Fired up from his chat with Peter, Daniel tells Justin to stay the fuck away and punctuates the message with a hook to the jaw and a slug to the guts.
Yes.
This will also help with the SPO.
The jaw and the guts. Let's remember that's where he was hit.
Yeah, hooks him, pushes him against, does throw him against a wall, making his neck snap back, I guess.
Oh. And also, he wasn't just like walking by, he was creepily staring into the windows at the Rovers. So it's not like he was just, innocently just walking by. No, because of course he wasn't.
On Friday, Daniel, on the morning of Daisy's court appearance for the hearing, decides that now is the time to get enthused about wedding preparations. Daisy understandably has other things on her mind. He says he might have scared Justin off last night, but doesn't go into any more details when she asks.
I gave him a strict talking to.
Mm-hmm. Adam turns up at the Rovers while Daisy prepares to leave for court, while Glenda decides to talk about villains from slasher movies, because that helps, doesn't it, Helen?
Absolutely.
Daisy mentions Daniel's altercation with Justin last night, which Adam thinks should be told to Dee Dee. Back at number 1, Peter is quietly pleased with the nice bit of violence from last night, which Adam comes in to overhear. What do you boys need to tell me, says all lovely and Scottish. Mm-hmm. Daniel tries to justify his actions.
That's a proper Scottish man.
Peter says he was well within his rights. Adam disagrees, and he wants to tell Daisy to make her aware of everything that's going on, but Daniel talks him out of it. At the court, at the hearing, Justin hasn't showed up, so Daisy makes a case for the SPO unopposed, and she makes a compelling case. She explains the storyline in a few paragraphs, explains how she can't go out, how Justin waits for her on the street, how Justin comes to the pub where she works, how Justin got a delivery job just so he could work in the area and find her address and phone number, how Justin maybe shagged her mum, how Justin has ruined her wedding plans, and how he turned up in her fucking house. Just at that, Justin comes in with a neck brace, apologising for being late.
I'm surprised he wasn't also in a wheelchair.
Oh, right, seriously. So Justin gets his chance to tell his story, and the one he tells is very different. He calls it a misunderstanding, says that they bonded at the hospital, and the meetings have been just coincidence, and her fiancé and some other guy beat him up last night and put him in hospital, which is why he was late. He says that he's the victim. Daisy glares at Daniel. You have got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm.
In private, Daniel says he didn't beat Justin up, he just punched him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Daisy is absolutely fucking furious at this.
He could have just handed him a brick and called it a day.
Right. The judge has made her decision. There's not enough evidence to award the SPO. Daisy protests, but no backsies, says the judge, and she recommends that they both stay away from each other. So Justin provides no evidence to back up his story, no evidence that Daniel or Peter beat him up, no evidence that he has any relationship with Daisy, no evidence that Daisy has been a willing participant in this relationship.
He does have a doctor's note, though.
But that generates reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
The law is an ass, or corrie law is an ass.
No, this sounds about right, sadly, for a lot of people. I was lucky, but I think I was lucky because there were also children involved.
I think people confuse reasonable doubt with doubt.
Right, yeah.
You can have doubt.
Right.
But it's reasonable doubt.
Right. And there's no questioning. There's no questioning of either one. You would think that there would be questions. I mean, why does Daisy have lawyers there? What are Dee Dee and Adam doing if they can't question this guy?
Yeah, she's got 2 lawyers.
Right. He has no lawyers.
He's there with his neck brace.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But it kind of suggests that he can say any old cock and bull story.
Right.
It's not going to get challenged.
No.
It's not going to get questioned. It's going to be accepted. Well,
he is a man.
This is he said, she said.
Right.
But this
and you know
isn't
what
he
women
said.
are like. They're so hysterical.
But this isn't he said, she said, because there's a ton of stuff on Daisy's file that she's been screenshotting and collating, and enough times that she's called the police on him.
Right. Yeah. And it's been more than, just accidentally bumping into one another, because he's been texting her constantly and everything. And also the whole him showing up in her house wasn't them accidentally bumping into one another.
And he said about that he thought that he was checking to make sure that she was all right or something.
Right, yeah, because he was worried about Daniel.
Well, Justin, what made you think that she wasn't?
Right, yeah. And also, what business of it is yours if you guys are just casual acquaintances that just accidentally bump into one another occasionally?
I hate the fact that while this may be an exaggerated, but a not too heavily exaggerated reflection of real life, this could put people off actually trying to get something like this done, to actually try and get
some help,
somebody to listen to them from a law enforcement or a justice point of view. I don't know if people are influenced by TV shows like that, but I think if this is a story there that supposedly has a message, the message at the moment is kind of, you're fucked and you're on your own.
Yeah. Well, in fairness to Corrie, I think the multiple news stories that come out all the time about women not getting their protective order and getting murdered, or getting their protective order and getting murdered anyway, puts women off.
You know, so, I know this is kind of out with the remit of the show and our podcast.
Yes.
But really, something has to change to make this easier.
Yeah.
Because my point last week kind of, I think, is still relevant, that if they are just passing acquaintances, if there is no relationship there to speak of, then what harm does it do to put this SPO in order? And maybe don't call it that.
Right.
But put a restraining order and say, right, the two of you aren't allowed to go within 100 yards of each other. What harm is that going to do if you are just passing acquaintances?
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of the frustrating thing here is that the judge says to him, well, you just leave her alone now. You know, don't bother her anymore. Just stay away from her. You know, kind of like as a warning to him, like a slap on the wrist.
Right.
And it's like, without any authority to back that up.
Yeah, it's meaningless.
What are you really doing here?
Afterwards, in the side room, Daisy, Daniel, Dee Dee, and Adam, who really should have a name that begins with D, are conducting the post-mortem when Justin walks. He just walks in.
Right, yeah.
You've got to be kidding me, says Daisy.
Get out.
Get lost, says Daniel. Oh, shut up, Daniel, says Daisy. At home, Daisy's still furious, blaming Daniel for everything, as he knew they had the hearing coming up, and whatever Justin said to provoke him doesn't matter, because I think what Justin said was Daisy would be better off having cancer than going out with you.
Right, yeah.
Which, I don't know.
It's pretty horrible.
It is pretty horrible, but...
She'd be better off having cancer and dying than not being with me, is essentially what he's saying.
Daniel casts up that she hit him too, but she did it because she was scared. It wasn't part of some dick wiggling competition.
Right, exactly.
She steps into the bar and guess who's there? Daniel comes through and shouts on Justin to leave, threatening to put him back in hospital, which is a great thing to say in a public place with witnesses. Justin tells her that she'd be better with him, and at this point I'm not sure there's much in it. Daisy says once again that she loves Daniel, she's marrying Daniel, and Justin is a creepy freak and needs to...
Back off.
Needs to fuck off. Through the back again, Daniel explains that he followed Justin to the tram stop and he called the police. He says he's proud of how she handled herself. Daisy is unmoved. She thinks that this is just like her cancer scare. Everything has to be about Daniel. All of this is his fault. He's confused because she said out front that she loved him. Oh, God, he really is so stupid, isn't he?
He really is. Him and Summer.
But she says that she only said that to get Justin to leave. Daniel's not too hot on the smart brains this week. He goes on to say that it's not his fault because they probably wouldn't have given the protection order anyway.
Ugh.
And even if they did, it probably wouldn't have kept Justin away. And that just about does it for Daisy.
Right,
And
yeah.
she tells him, you know what, I think I'm going to stay at the pub tonight. And she tells him to leave. So he does. So, super supportive...
Oh, God.
Daniel, because he's called out that this is his fault.
Right.
Which it is.
Yes.
Says, well, you hit him as well.
Right.
Says, well, even if I didn't hit him, you wouldn't have got the
you may not have gotten it
protection
anyway.
order. And even if you had got the protection order, he still would have come into the pub
Right.
anyway. So it's not really my fault. Because that's the important thing here.
Right, yeah. Class act, that Daniel.
And number one, Peter offers to talk to Daisy and tells her it's not his fault. Surprisingly, Daniel doesn't go for it. He says he needs to sort this himself. Adam thinks that the two half-wits have really screwed up Daisy's case.
Yes.
So, Daniel...
And this actually gives Daniel pause because he believes it when it's coming from Adam.
Yes.
Because Adam is a dude.
So Daniel proves that there's little difference between him and Justin by going to see Daisy when she didn't want to see him. He doesn't have much to say, which suits Daisy. He says he'll come back tomorrow. She tells him not to bother. She doesn't know if she wants to marry him anymore, and she's not so keen on going out with him either. And that's how we end this week's episodes.
I had to, take my phone and put my phone up over the screen and just, do some doom scrolling on Twitter to see if Mitch McConnell was dead yet.
Is he?
Not yet.
Okay.
Pretty much every time Justin was on the screen, because it's just...
You want to punch the screen when he's on screen.
It's just so off-putting for him to... For it just constantly... and constantly the same thing and it just doesn't let up. And again, it's like the show does not seem to understand that sometimes with these hard-hitting storylines, you may feel like you're doing a service because you're trying to educate, but you're also potentially re-traumatizing your audience. Mm-hmm. And it's not great. It's not a great feeling. You know, I mentioned the movie Women Talking earlier.
Yes.
And how, you know, you were very considerate when I said I was going to go watch it to just give me a heads up that it might be triggering to me.
Yes.
And I said, don't worry about it. You're right here if I need you.
Hello.
And I also have the dog, you know, and a blankie.
Next to useless, but okay.
So I'll be fine. And, you know, and I said, you know, that movie, which is about a society where the men have been consistently drugging and raping the women and female children
for years,
women of all ages, from the age of 4 to 70. And that was less triggering than this show because it's very careful and considered. You don't see the rapes take place. You see kind of the aftermath.
Yeah,
and the
with
blood and the shock. Mm-hmm. You do not see any of the men.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the really important thing here is that you are affected. You see what these women have gone through, but you don't have to see the men. And that was very helpful for someone like me. Whereas having to look at Justin over and over again and hear his voice over and over again is very, very triggering, you know?
Well,
and, you know, the show has to have some of that in it.
Sure.
And I get it. I understand.
Did they have to walk into the room in the court?
Right.
I'm like, where is he even going here?
We knew he was going to show back up, you know, and every time he shows back up, oh, I just wanted to check on you one more time. You know, there are ways to tell this story in a more considered way, I think is what I'm getting to, you know, and the show, for all of its good and well intentions, does not seem to have the balance and the understanding to tell that story in a considered way, in a less triggering way for its audience.
Well, there's the old adage that if something happens in a story, it has to happen to move the story on. It's the South Park mantra is, this happens, therefore this happens, and this happens, therefore this happens.
Right.
But what we're having here is we're kind of caught in a little bit of a loop of Justin just turning up and
just re-traumatizing over and over and over again.
And the story doesn't really move on.
No.
Except that the little count of, or the little the score that we're keeping of Daisy's trauma is increasing a bit every time this happens. But it's not really moving the story on.
No.
The story this week is she's refused the SPO.
Yes.
That's what happens. But when...
And also her relationship with Daniel is jeopardized.
Right. But when you think of all the encounters that she's had with Justin to necessitate that happening, it feels overblown.
Yes.
Because he was in the house and he was in the court and he was in the little courtroom and then they came to the pub and then there was looking about outside and I think he was probably doing something else on Monday that I've forgotten about.
Right.
It's
not really moving it forward.
It's not serving the story.
No.
Other than it's dragging it out a little bit.
And
this
re-traumatizing.
This is where it comes back to the Amy stuff, is that things are happening to serve the story, not to serve the characters.
Right.
So we're stretching it out just to make the story last longer.
Right.
We're not stretching it out because it has to be a long story.
Which, does that really serve the story, making it longer just for the sake of having it longer? I don't think it does. You know, it serves the story by making it longer, but it doesn't make it better.
No.
If anything, it makes it worse.
Yeah, I'm probably misspeaking. It's not serving the story. It's serving the timeline of the story.
Right, yes.
But it's certainly not serving the storytelling.
No.
Because this is stuff that if you were reading it, you'd cut a lot of this out.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Kill your darlings, Coronation Street. Kill your darlings.
Yeah.
It's not serving the characters. It's not serving the audience. And it's not serving the story. And, you know, there have been times and there have been storylines where kind of dragging it out and putting it in increments kind of helped and made it more believable.
The Max storyline had to happen over a period of time.
Right.
Because it's ridiculous to suggest that someone can be groomed in a week.
Right. Even the Tim's dad storyline, initially we praised it for taking its time. It got to a point where it was like, okay, I think you've taken enough time. Mm-hmm. Let's wrap this up. But initially, you know, because again, the sort of things that were happening to Yasmin couldn't have happened in the course of a week. And again, with Tim's dad was doing other things besides just turning up and being creepy.
Yeah,
you know, and he was escalating
Brian's plants and stuff.
Right. And he was escalating in a way. Yeah, we got to see a more well-rounded picture of Tim's dad than we have of Justin, because every time we see Justin, it's him being creepy towards Daisy. Mm. We're not seeing. We never got to see his mom.
No.
You know, we barely got to see we saw him standing outside arranging the funeral with no other family.
But that wasn't there for that. That was
that was for Daisy to punch him. Mm-hmm. You know, so, and I think that could help both the story and the characters to see other aspects of this character, because he's so very one note that every time he's on screen, it's traumatizing.
Yeah.
Whereas Tim's dad, it was not always traumatizing, because sometimes he was messing with Brian's plants.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, Charlotte Jordan is doing a remarkably good job.
Absolutely.
And that this is just cementing her as an incredible presence on the show.
Yes.
And I think I just need, for her sake, for this to get to the next part of it, because we're kind of lingering in this middle ground way too long.
Right.
And I know in real life this can go on for years, but this is we're afforded the luxury in fiction that we don't have to have that.
Right.
We can have a somewhat expedited arc that brings this to some conclusion. And again, I keep on coming back to it. It's just because this is not the only thing that looks like this that is going on in the show right now.
Right.
And that really just amplifies it.
And women can have other storylines where they're not traumatized and be entertaining.
I'm looking at you, Beth.
It's also frustrating because, you know, they've, and I think rightly so, said, okay, we're going to back off some of Hope's storylines because in consideration for the actors' well-being and mental health. Well, maybe you should afford your older actors that same consideration, because as we've pointed out, this isn't the first time something traumatizing has happened to Amy in the last 5 years. Mm. Let's maybe...
No, in the last year.
Right. And Summer.
Oh, God.
And
where do we start?
Carla. I think we've talked about this enough.
We have. So that was the week there was Coronation Street.
Ugh.
Helen, tell me, and I'm going to strap myself in for this, what was Your moment of the week.
Ken and Bertie looking at birds. And bees. It was this beautiful shining moment where Ken Barlow was not insufferable. Where he was adorable.
So I'd give it to Daisy giving her speech, giving her statement. I thought that was excellent. But you want to give it to you want to give it to Ken and Bertie, I'm sorry. I tried.
Here's the thing. Daisy's speech was admirable. But I don't want to give that storyline any credit or any praise. Just like I don't want to give the Amy storyline any credit or any praise, because I think the show sees things like that and says, oh, we're doing a good job. And they're not doing a good job.
I don't think anybody cares what we think. But anyway.
I don't know. I think they do.
We'll
they
agree
put
to
Tyrone
disagree.
in that t-shirt after all and put in a sinkhole.
That was coincidence.
And gave Stephen a massive stack of empty cups. Somebody is listening to us. Besides Charlie.
Okay, fine. I really don't care. That's our
Moment of the week.
Our moment of the week.
our boring moment of the week. Tim cooking curly fries for Faye's birthday dinner.
Yes.
That's our
Boring moment of the week.
That was an easy sell. I have the feeling I could have said anything there. You would have just agreed with it.
Absolutely. You gave me Ken and Bertie looking at birds. So I am being gracious back.
Oh, well. If you've ever looked at something with binoculars the wrong way around, write in to tell us about it. We're the talk of the street. We've all done that, haven't we? It's
Yes.
fun.
It
It
is
is
fun.
fun.
He's so far away.
Oh, you're just there. We're the talk of the street gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode.
Thank you.
And we will be back next week with more
Talk of the street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.